We need to have a conversation about the Glazers, and we need to talk about American ownership of Premier League and other football teams in general, and the issues that the American ownership business model creates. And so when I talk about the Glazers, I'm also going to be talking about Joe Louis and Todd Bowley and other American owners, but I will be speaking specifically of the Glazers because this is a video about Manchester United. The American sports scene is very different from European sports. So in America, they have sort of feeder systems through their education. You play at high school and compete at state level. You compete at college and compete at a national level. And then what happens is that professional teams, they get to pick in what's called the draft players that are playing at college level who are in their last year at college, and they get to sign them to contracts, to professional either development contracts or full professional contracts, depending on the team's needs. And then typically what will happen is that they will start the players who sign from college, they will start as maybe a third string in their position, and then as players sort of they get moved on due to poor form or their age or whatever, or retirement, they sort of climb up the pecking order, and they get more game time because of that. And obviously through years of training and years of experience gained from that, by the time that they're the full starter, the first pick, they're pretty much a developed player by that point. And if, for example, the LA Rams, they decide that they want to sort of bring in a player from the Denver Broncos, they will suggest a trade. So they might go to the Denver Broncos and say, we want your, I don't know, second string quarterback, and I know that you need a wide receiver, so I'll offer you this wide receiver, you give us that quarterback, and no money exchanges hands. And obviously in European sports, it's very different from that with regard to team sports, particularly football. If Barcelona want a player from Leicester City, they pay Leicester City money for the privilege of receiving that player. And that can only occur during certain periods of the year. In America, it can occur at those swap deals, they can occur at any time of the year. So there's no real payment system for to and from clubs with regard to transfers. And the issue is that American owners, they come in with this kind of mindset that there's no transfers, that we just swap. Which is why a lot of American owners, they end up purchasing several teams so that they can create a franchise system and reduce the cost of transfers. They'll have a feeder club that develops players, kind of like the college system in America, and then they will sell the good players that are produced by the feeder club to the main club, which is kind of the cash cow. That's where all of the success comes from, and that's where most of the money will come from. But they come in with this mindset that it's all profit. It's all profit. Because in America, you have the cost of running the club, and then it's all profit, right? It's all profit. You might invest in training facilities, you might invest in a stadium, but the reality is that there are no player costs except for the contracts. And the money that they receive from the NFL, from playing in the playoffs, etc., etc., it's all profit. There's never a risk of being relegated. And the way that the sort of feeder system with regard to the college works is that the lower that you finish in sort of your in the sort of conferences, the sooner your draft picks. So if you finish rock bottom, you get first pick. And so what this does then is it keeps the NFL more competitive, but it also ensures that every team gets their turn at earning the top money, right? So it's kind of like a mafia sort of system where nobody's invited to join them and nobody leaves and everybody gets a turn at winning the top money. In European sports, that doesn't occur. You can get relegated out of the Premier League, which means that you've always got to be investing in training facilities and stadium and bringing in new players, right? What these American owners expect is that the turnover of the club should always cover the training facility improvements, the stadium improvements, and the player contracts and the staff payments. And that then they're going to take their profit out of the club and then move on to the next season and do the same thing over again. But the reality is that English football, European football is not like that at all. The reality of European football is that it requires consistent reinvestment, right? So a lot of successful European clubs, their owners don't take profits out of the club. Their owners oftentimes invest money into the club. You know, at minimum, the successful clubs, their owners don't take a profit from the club and they reinvest every penny back into the club because that's what's required. Particularly with the expenses of players today, the transfer fees that are going around today, it's constantly requiring the reinvestment back into the club. So the club could turn over, they could make a profit of, £200 million. But a lot of owners, they will put that back into the club for transfers in the summer. American owners, they don't do that. What American owners do is that they create a budget for the club. The club will reinvest that in improvements in the facilities, in the stadium, etc., etc. They will sign off a certain amount for a transfer budget and then take the rest as profit for themselves. And this is where the failing of American ownership is. It's because they come in with the mindset of the NFL where they don't have to reinvest money into it, that they can take the profit out of the club, that the payments that they get from the organizations that they compete in, the payments that they get from sponsors, etc., etc., will cover everything. But as I say, in European football, it's not the case. And this is where Manchester United are failing. They're failing because of a lack of investment. They're failing because the owners see the club as a business rather than something that creates opportunities for their other businesses outside of football, which is where, for example, a Roman Abramovich, that's where he made money off of it. He didn't make money out of Chelsea specifically, but he made money out of the opportunities that being the owner of Chelsea Football Club created for him, created for his other businesses. And the public persona, the public image that people sort of bemoan the Newcastle owners for taking advantage of, that's what the ownership of a Premier League team offers to the owners. And for as long as American ownership do not understand that, for as long as American owners of clubs continue to operate with that American ownership business model, those clubs that operate in that system are doomed to mediocrity, static positions in leagues, potentially regression. And it's because they don't understand that football, European football, in order to just remain competitiveness, requires large sums of reinvestment year on year on year on year. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Don't forget to comment down below and let me know what you think about American investment and ownership models. And have a great day.